about, don't worry about stopping us or interrupting us. We're going to try to answer those as we go along. So please feel free to use that. This is an open forum for you to ask questions. I'm also recording this webinar so that we can put it on our website. So if you need it as a resource at a further, at a later date, you have it. And then those of you attending will also receive continuing education units for watching this if you need them for your continuing education. So with that, Hannah, why don't you take it over and we'll get started here.
Thank you, Heather. Josh and I will actually be doing this in tandem today. He's going to kick us off with the first half of the slides, and then we'll move into a demonstration of our EPD tool.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Heather. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so we're, again, as Heather mentioned, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Don't worry about the, oh, we're waiting until the end. We'll answer questions at the end as well, but there's no real flow to this. We've done a couple of these, so we kind of know what path we're going down. So you're not going to interrupt, so don't worry about that. So, Hannah, if we can jump to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about WAP and who we are. WAP Sustainability is got 15 plus years experience in the sustainability space. We started out as a life cycle assessment organization. We are now the largest life cycle assessment provider here in North America. I know we're having trouble with the slides, but I promise we've been around for a while. We do lots of things in the sustainability space, not just life cycle assessments. We consider ourselves organizations, external sustainability teams, when you're looking to do lots of different things. Hannah, if you want to hit the next slide. Yeah, so again, I mentioned the leader in LCA. So how the heck did we get here? Well, WAP actually created the first EPD for a flooring company all the way back in 2011. We were doing life cycle assessments before that. In fact, our founder, William Paddock, which is where William WAP comes from, it's his initials, was actually a life cycle assessment practitioner for Mars, the candy company. But they also do pet food, for those that don't know. He was actually doing life cycle assessments on trying to understand what was more impactful, the beef, the chicken, or the fish in their pet food. We started doing LCAs for companies when he and Brad McAllister came out and created WAP again, and then we started doing these things called EPDs. WAP helped manufacturers develop meet the LEED v4 requirements, the Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design standard for building rating systems. Will Paddock was the chairman of the MR tag, the Material and Resource tag at the time that LEED v4 was really being implemented. I was actually on the LEED steering committee at the time and helped work on the EPD development as well. I happened to be at UL Environment at the time, but that's how Will and I ended up meeting. We also obviously helped organizations meet what was called the Buy Clean California Act back in 2017, as the state of California started to say, hey, we're going to buy products for our projects that we pay for out of taxpayer money based on global warming potentials, or GWP, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We then last year acquired two different organizations, Tri-Site Engineering and Coldstream Consulting, which were doing really cool stuff in the software LCA field, which is the basis of actually the tool that we'll talk to you guys about today. And that brings us to this year, earlier this year, launching Theta, the EPD program that we're going to get into. So Hannah, if you want to slide to the next slide. So after the introduction, I'm going to basically talk through this. We're going to say, what is embodied carbon? What is driving all of this? What's an EPD? What's an LCA? And what to look for in an EPD? And then also, obviously, the Theta tool. Hannah's going to talk to you about the Theta tool in our program that we've set up with Mission. So here are acronyms to know. There's not going to be a test, so you don't need to take notes, but just so my gobbledygook of acronyms comes out correctly. EPDs are environmental product declarations. ISO is the International Organization for Standardization. LCA is life cycle assessment. Sometimes you'll also hear it called life cycle analysis. They're the same thing. PCR are product category rules, and POs are program operators. So now that we're all up to date on those, EPDs are coming. I certainly understand that there are concerns with EPDs in the world. Obviously, the way they're currently utilized isn't the best methodology for the way they could be used. The information isn't always complete in a lot of EPDs that are in the marketplace today. But this is how organizations such as federal government, state level governments, procurement officers at major universities and major organizations, and architects, designers, and specifiers are using these tools to make decisions. So they are coming, but we don't need to be frightened of them because there's an easy path. That's the great thing that we've worked out with this relationship is there's an easier path to be able to move forward with how to do EPDs. And again, WAP and the Michigan Concrete Association have worked together to come up with the best idea to move forward. So what is embodied carbon? And if we hit the next slide. So embodied carbon is, it's a marketing term really, because yes, to make a product, there is always embodied carbon, but there's lots of other stuff, right? There's other greenhouse gases beyond carbon that impact our atmosphere and impact the climate that we're dealing with at the moment. But this term, embodied carbon, has become, a sexy marketing term, right? So when you hear someone say, oh, the embodied carbon, what they really mean is the overall impact that a product has on the environment, right? So it is referring to a specific greenhouse gas, the word carbon, certainly, but again, the embodied carbon is a catch-all term for all the impacts that a product can have on the climate. Hannah, if you hit the next slide. Thank you. So this is a life cycle assessment, okay? This is the life cycle of a building, truly, when you're going from the production of the products on the left, the construction of the building, the use phase of the building, the end of life when you're taking it down, and then potentially beyond the life cycle. Occasionally, you'll hear life cycle assessment professionals talk in this way. They'll say, oh, it's A1 to A3, or that's B phase. This is what they're talking about. Now, when we're talking embodied impacts, right, for years and years, decades and decades, I should say, the operational phase of energy has been really, really focused on, right? Energy Star is a big deal. I'm sure most of us have Energy Star products within our home, our fridges, our freezers, our washers, our dryers, light bulbs even have Energy Star ratings now and things of that nature. And we've done a really good job. The problem is when you truly look at the life cycle of things, Hannah, if you click it another couple times, you'll see that embodied is actually, the embodied impacts are everywhere. Yeah, Hannah, if you just keep clicking here until we get to they're absolutely all over the place, right? Embodied impacts are actually more numerous in the product's life cycle than operational. Now, they normally end up becoming equal when you have something like, light bulb usage and things of that nature. And buildings, it's actually pretty equal. It's like 51 operational percent energy use versus 49 embodied energy that's it's used to literally build the building or to do retrofits and things of that nature. But again, embodied is everywhere, and we've only focused on this red box for a long, long time. So that's why these blue arrows areas, the embodied, are starting to get more focus. If we slide to the next slide. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? When you first build a building or an infrastructure project per se, you have tons and tons of embodied carbon, right? It comes right up front at the beginning. Lots of it, goes into the actual building. And then the operational energy, the blue bars, continue to stack up over time, but they tend to decrease. And the reason is our electric grid is getting better and better. More renewable energy is being put on the energy grid. So again, that is why we're seeing embodied becoming equal to operational energy impacts. Because again, lots of buildings have renovation and maintenance every couple of years. So again, you're seeing those two things equal out when we actually start to do the math. And if we slide over. Thank you. So where and how are EPDs being used today? So I've got a lot of list of things here. I'm going to go through some of them fairly quickly because they don't directly impact you folks in Michigan, but I wanted you to understand kind of the transition and how we got to where we are today, and the proliferation of these things that are happening in lots of different areas, so that you understand it's coming to your area. Again, EPDs are coming, nothing to be scared of. We can actually move forward with them in a really smart way. So Hannah, if we go to the first one here, Marin County was really the first law put on the books in code that actually amended the California Building and Residential Code. So this is Marin County. If you've ever heard of like wine, country north of San Francisco, this is Marin County. And they have set a embodied carbon limits for cement products in their jurisdiction. The good thing about this, just go back one more really quickly there, Hannah. The good thing about Marin County, what they did is they actually speciated the concrete. If you look, or the cement limits, if you look on the left-hand side, they actually talk about PSI, or compressive strength, obviously, of the product of what's there. The good part of that is there's not one limit, right? It doesn't say, okay, we're going to set the global warming potential maximum limits, or the kilograms per CO2 equivalent. See that kg CO2e in the right-hand column there at like 500. Well, that's not going to work for, 4,000 lightweight compressive strength cement. We need it to be more, right? So they actually speciated this, and that's led to a good move moving forward. Go to the next one, Hannah. That leads us to Cal Green. State of California has Cal Green, which is part of their building code, their mandatory building code. And they have recently just passed what's in their non-residential or their commercial mandatory measures. For any building that's over 100,000 square feet commercial, or 50,000 square feet for a school system, you have 3 paths that you can take. One of them is reusing 45% of the existing structure and enclosure. If you're doing a reuse, that's fairly easy. You can do a whole building life cycle assessment, where you have to literally look at all the data in the building for embodied impacts, or a prescriptive path, which is you're using products that are below certain global warming potential values, and they speciated for concrete within their program as well. So again, it is coming to building codes in that manner. If you can go to the next one, Hannah. The state of Colorado actually has global warming potential. And when I say GWP, that's another acronym, global warming potential, for certain materials used in public projects, right? That actually, it literally starts January 1st of this year. And asphalt and asphalt mixtures, cement and concrete mixtures are the first 2. So they're doing this for all state of Colorado projects, where they've set global warming potential maximums for projects in the state of Colorado. Go to the next one. And state of Washington Buy Clean, Buy Fair pilot literally had, they started looking at in 2021 at global warming potential maximums in the state of Washington for their projects. And their ultimate goal was, again, to potentially set those GWP maximums. It actually hasn't come forward yet. It's still working its way through legislature, but it is there. You go to the next one. State of Oregon Department of Transportation, concrete, asphalt, and steel and state infrastructure projects must have a plan to reduce their greenhouse gas by December 31st, 2025, which shockingly enough is about 26 months away. I don't know about you, but the time is moving way too fast. If you go to the next one, Hannah. Yeah, it's City of New York executive order. They are now requiring environmental product declarations for low carbon concrete specifications. They're also doing it for steel in the city. Next one, Hannah. City of Portland, Oregon has new requirements for concrete. Again, it's started implementation this year. If you go to the next one, Hannah. And again, I keep moving on and on here quickly because I want to get to things that are going to directly impact you folks. This is where it starts to hit the road, the rubber meeting the road specifically. The Inflation Reduction Act that happened a couple years ago gave billions of dollars to spend on low carbon materials. This slide specifically talks about the Inflation Reduction Act and the Federal Highway Administration. Federal Highway Administration has $2 billion in their general appropriation fund given to them in 2022 to hand out through September 30th, 2026. So about 3 years from now, they have to give $2 billion to the state level departments of transportation to fund the procurement of low carbon materials, obviously including your product, right? So looking directly at your product and what is in the marketplace. So the state DOT of the state of Michigan will be getting funds to buy low carbon concrete. If you go to the next one here, Hannah, they're working out exactly how to hand that out. The General Service Administration, the U.S. General Service Administration, actually has two buckets of money. The first one was the Infrastructure Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, where they were given money for landed ports of entry. Obviously, you folks have a couple of those in Michigan, where they will be updating all procurement requirements to the concrete requirements on the left-hand side of the screen. They're very small, but I've put the link down here below. And again, we'll get you this slide deck. It's being recorded, but we'll also PDF it and get it over to Heather. They also, though, have $2.15 billion out of the Inflation Reduction Act to hand out for, again, low global warming potential maximum products for federal government projects. And if you go to the next slide, Hannah, they're finalizing the pilots right now that they're running, and there actually is a pilot in Michigan for the General Service Administration right now that is looking for low carbon concrete and steel rebar in Detroit. You can see it right here, the Patrick V. McNamara Federal Building Garage. There's a pilot project that if you have, or you can show an EPD and it meets their requirements, which are detailed on this webpage, again, we'll get it to you, you will actually be able to be funded more than your normal concrete bid. They have different levels where you have to meet the top 20% below a certain limit, top 40% or top 60% below, and then simply be below the industry average for the concrete. General Service Administration is also looking to have this concrete requirements throughout all their projects through their P100 building guidance that they have that is being updated as well. You also obviously have the certification schemes, which are used for code compliance occasionally in codes. LEED I talked about, LEED V4, LEED V4.1, the upcoming LEED V5 also that will be coming to the marketplace next year. Will have GWP maximums in it for certain types of products. Green Globes have EPDs, pathways for materials. The International Green Construction Code and ASHRAE 189.1, which are green building codes, actually have EPD pathways within them as well. BREEAM, another green building rating system from overseas that has gotten some traction here in North America, also has EPD requirements, and the National Green Building Standard for homes. So NAHB's National Green Building Standard also has EPD path requirements. So again, that's a heck of a lot of what is going on. So now we're going to move into how do we get there? I wanted to talk about life cycle assessment because that's the fundamental basis of everything that this is about. So life cycle assessment, or LCA, truly looks at everything that happens in the life of a product, from taking the materials from the ground, from suppliers, getting it to production, the actually producing of the product, packaging it, shipping it, the use phase, the end of life, and the waste, and hopefully taking some of that, obviously with your material, taking some of that back into the process all over again. It's not one specific area, even if only one specific area gets asked for occasionally. Like occasionally, when we were talking about that life cycle assessment grid before, the A1 to A3 is basically the taking it out of the ground, the materials area, over to the packaging and shipping at the end there. It stops right after packaging, so that's called cradle to gate, right? Meaning you've packaged it and it's about to leave your facility. But it truly looks at the entire impact of the product. Go to the next one, Hannah. This is, again, that stages of life cycle assessment. And I wanted to name the stages here on the left. So just in case you hear someone say, oh, we need product stage data or construction stage or use or end of life. These are the individual stages named there again. Again, today's EPDs require in things like lead and a lot of these codes and purchasing requirements require to have at least A1 to A3. It does not say you can't have the other stages in there, but these first stage, the raw supply, the transport, and the manufacturing of the product has to be in there. We go to the next one, Hannah. So that gets us to the EPD. We have to do a life cycle assessment, and our software makes it very easy, very quick for that to happen. And Hannah will run through that in a second to get to the environmental product declaration. The reason why most don't just simply release their LCA is it's your secret sauce, right? It literally talks about your facilities. It talks about your supply chain. It talks about obviously your mixes and things of that nature in great depth. Your batch level information, which most organizations in your world don't want to give that out. Most organizations in any world don't want to give out their secret sauce of how they're making their product. An environmental product declaration gets the impact data out without giving away the secrets behind it. So when we get to the EPD, it is literally what it is called. It is environmental product declaration. It is a declaration about the impact on the environment that a product can have. It is not a guarantee of a certain level of performance. Again, some of these purchasing requirements from GSA and from some others have global warming potential maximums. That does not mean just because you have an EPD, it doesn't guarantee that you're below that. You'll certainly be able to tell that when running the life cycle assessment and getting the results, whether you're below certain limits. But again, just because a product has an EPD does not guarantee that it is a quote unquote sustainable product. It's just transparent impact data. We go to the next one, Em. So what is in an EPD? We talk about declared functional units. So yards of concrete, for example. We have testing results and verifications that you folks have run your materials through. Basic information about the material's origins. Again, any product definitions and installation and in-use conditions and things of that nature. Fairly standard concepts of what are in an EPD. If you go to the next page, Hannah, it actually details, the second page, if you click a couple times, yeah, you'll see there. Thanks, Hannah. It details kind of, okay, what are the product category rules that are used? Obviously, I grabbed one here from the flooring world. It talks about where the standard is. That's what a product category rule is. How long the period of validity the EPD is. It's typically 5 years. Obviously, you folks are running batches consistently, so yours will go quicker and quicker. And then down at the bottom there, it says EPD scope on the left-hand side. You see this one is cradle to grave. Most of yours will be cradle to gate. If you slide to the next page, Hannah, you're going to see the most important aspect of the results that will come out on the EPD. And this is typically what it would look like. These are the modules, as we talked about before, the A1 to A3, the B level, the C, and it's broken down here on the left-hand side. You see the different impact areas. GWP, if you hit one more time there, Hannah, you'll see an arrow come up. The GWP is that embodied carbon that people are asking about. So if someone's saying, I would like to know your embodied carbon number, that's this GWP under the A1 to A3 area, right? And it's expressed in kilograms per CO2 equivalent. Again, hence why we're saying carbon, because it's expressed as an equivalent to carbon dioxide. Again, it does not mean that things like methane and others aren't included in the calculation. They are. There are lots of other things that are going to come across in the EPD from the life cycle assessment: ozone depletion, eutrophication potential, acidification potential, photochemical ozone, abiotic resource depletion, and things of that nature are going to come out as well. But when people are looking for numbers and they're asking about embodied carbon, it is this upper left-hand area that they are asking about. So I'm going to hand you over to Hannah. She's going to talk about this is all why we're doing this. Hannah's going to talk to you about how we're actually going to do this through the Theta tool. Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Josh. All right, so as Josh alluded in the beginning of the presentation today, the Theta EPD software, which is the Buy Clean compliance software that WAP has, he mentioned that there was a couple of mergers that happened late last year one with the Coldstream Consulting that ran the Athena Institute LCA concrete software, as well as TriSite that ran the Emerald Eco-Label tool for asphalt. Both of those, you can access those directly through WAP. We also have a couple other products on board and starting to make its way into the industry, aggregates being one of them. It's launching this fall, I believe, as well as in the works is steel software as well. So that's basically the entire Theta EPD, which you can kind of go into the different industries, concrete, asphalt, aggregates, and steel within Theta EPD. So with MCA, we came to an agreement with them to help you guys get EPDs. It started out with a state level association program case study that we did with the Tennessee Concrete Association, which basically is the same thing that we're doing with MCA, where we help their producers get EPDs, get into the market so they can produce EPDs for their projects, for the GSA, for federal projects, everything like that. So how does the EPD program work with the associations? WAP and MCA entered into an MLU for the program earlier this year. Oops, someone's covering that. Then secondly, WAP and MCA announced the program to their members. We create educational content, so similar to what we're doing today, webinars. We have some information on the website. We will send out some handouts. So this document here, the presentation we're sharing today, we'll share with you guys in emails. We're also open to more connections with you. So we'll do more presentations at annual meetings, more webinars as they come up throughout within the next year and throughout the entire MLU. And finally, we'll be sharing the EPD program with you all. You'll have access to it through Theta Concrete. And then going into this here, I'm going to stop sharing our presentation at the moment and bring up Theta Concrete. I'm going to go through a bit of a demonstration for you all to showcase how the tool works, the information that you're going to be needing to enter into the tool, and then the final outcome, which will be your actual EPDs that you'll be able to produce. So I'm just pulling it up here. Forgive me, I shared my screen a little bit weird earlier. Here it is. All right. So this is Theta Concrete, one of the branches of Theta EPD. What will happen is that you'll get your very own login, just a username and password, and you'll log into a site that looks like this. So it is a cloud-based site. You don't have to download any software. Nothing goes directly onto your computer. You'll just get a link to Theta EPD, and you can go onto it on your web browser or wherever you access your internet. And then open to something like this. So it'll be branded to your company specifically. All of your information will be confidential to you and your users of your company. There will be a third-party program operator step that has to review your information, but it's just a one-time access that they'll get. They'll be able to review it and check it off which is good for 5 years. So to start off with, you go in and enter in your plant information. This is the first step in getting the data as it opens the rest of the ribbon there at the top. So your survey, suppliers, and mixes, which we'll get into. Firstly, you'll start off by entering your plant name, the city, and then the state you're located in. If you have different divisions within your company, which some do, you have the ability to enter that in there. So it's just kind of laid out a little bit better, and you can see which plants that you have in the system when you go to the plant list, where you can view the different divisions, see your plant names, the city, and then the state. They're all located in a big list that looks similar to this. As I mentioned, once you have your plants in the system, empty surveys will open. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, it'll showcase the concrete facility survey in the first drop-down. Then you'll be able to select your plant in the second one. It'll have a list of all the plants that are new into the system, where you have to go through and enter in all of your concrete facility information. So once you hit continue, this is what the survey will look like. It's a production survey, and the reporting period is 12 months. So 12 months of your data. Typically people do the previous year. So in this case, if you're starting within the next month or two, you'll be using 2022 data. We'll be asking for your total concrete production and your batch waste. Over on the right-hand side, you're able to switch between units. So it's easy for you. You don't have to do any conversions when looking directly from your paperwork. We'll ask for your purchase energy. So this includes items such as purchase electricity. If you have purchased electricity from a green grid or any renewable electricity, this is where you can put it in there on the right-hand side. Next, we'll move into natural gas usage, any fuels, diesel, gasoline, propane used on site. Any animal plant consumables, road dust chemicals, oils, lubricants, greases, your total water usage for one whole year. And if you have batch water that's recycled wash water, you can include that percentage here as well. We'll move into waste generated, which includes hazardous and non-hazardous solid waste. And then finally, air emissions and water emissions. If these last two categories are tracked, if it's not something that you typically see at your company, it's not something that you guys keep track of, you can just leave it blank there. But if you do have it, please do include it. Then we just have a survey note there at the bottom for anything that you think us as consultants need to know, the third-party verifier needs to know, or any notes that you like to keep for yourself when you're entering your data, you can include that there at the bottom. The second step of the tool of the data collection process is to enter in your supplier information. So this here will be a big alphabeticalized list of all the suppliers that you specifically have within your plants. And it'll be a big list for all of your plants. At this point, it's not plant specific, it's company specific. So if you use one supplier for multiple plants, you'll be able to input that here just once. So it's available for any plant that has that material. Over here on the left-hand side is where you're going to enter in your new supplier. So you'd enter in your name, you'd select the material type that supplier supplies to your plants, and then you enter in an address there. We have different countries located here. Typically, it's usually United States, but we do recognize that some materials come from overseas and different countries. So that's available for you as well. The second step on this page, which is an important one for when you get over to the mix entry portion, is to actually specify the ingredients for a supplier. So here we'll select one, we'll hit show, and then we'll go through this list and add all of the materials that come from that supplier. So for this demo one here, it's an air and trainer company. We've added air and trainer admixture as the material that comes from there. Once it's added, you'll be able to see it in orange underneath the suppliers in the big alphabeticalized list. And something I want to point out on this page here that's fairly important for your final numbers and your results is that we'll actually include any product-specific EPDs for your materials. We'll link them directly in the background. We can have an extensive directory on the admin side that pulls all of the product-specific EPDs for cement, aggregate, any admixtures, any SCMs, anything like that, that will make your numbers a bit better rather than just using the averages that are built into the tool. So if that's the case, once we go through our own internal QC check of your information, we'll make sure to link those directly for you. So it's not something you have to go look for. It's already done, and you'll just be able to just produce your EPDs as normal. And then finally, the last step of the data collection process is entering in your supplier distances. So when you enter them in, this is a table that it would look like. We're going to be asking for your one-way distances from the manufacturing point of your material to your plants. So it could be either via truck, rail, ocean, and barge, or a mixture of any of those four. What that would look like to enter is something that's similar to this. Over here on the left-hand side, you would select your material type there. In the first drop down, you'd select any supplier that is associated to that material. And then moving down here, you can add in as an optional step your annual amount purchased per year. These are things that we use in an industry studies that we were doing, but it's optional. It's not required for your purposes. And then moving through here, we just select your distances you're using for either truck, rail, or ocean or barge distances there. You'll enter those in, and it'll populate directly in that table that we looked at earlier. Once all this information has been entered into the tool, we're then required to go through a third-party verification step. We use a couple program operators on the market, ASTM, NRMCA, which is the National Ready Mix Concrete Association, EPD North America. There's a few on there. You have the option of choosing which one you want to go with through our program. They'll just take a look at all of your LCA data. So your survey production information, your suppliers, your supplier distances, just to make sure it all looks good and all checks out. And then you'll be good to go to create as many EPDs as you want through this step here. This step is where you're entering in your mixes. So again, you'd select your plant there at the top. You'd put in your mix name, description, your compressive strength units, and then click add there at the bottom. Once you click add, all of those mixes that you've entered will showcase in a drop down similar to this one here. You'd go in and click show, and you'd be able to see all the mixes, all the materials entered, and then finally your impacts there at the bottom. So for your purposes, it would be empty when you first start out, but to get those ingredients into the table that looks like this, you go to the add mix ingredient button there at the top of this, the material table. You'd grab an ingredient there on the left-hand side, enter in an amount. You can change the units if it's applicable to you, and then just click add, and it populates automatically in the bottom of the table for you. So you'll go through, add in your cements, your aggregates, any SCMs, add mixtures, and then the water. Once that's all built out, your impact summary table will show here at the bottom automatically. Over on the left-hand side, you have your impact indicators, the 6 top ones that people typically look at, GWP being the first one there in the list. Moving through, you have your units for your impacts. And then finally, we have the results. Per the product category rule, we are required to showcase the results in per cubic meters. However, we do know that you guys work in cubic yards usually, so we have that conversion for you. So it's a little bit easier. You don't have to do anything by hand. And then moving to the right-hand side, we have your A1, A2, and A3 scopes. A1 is all your raw materials being entered above. A2 is your transportation, and then A3 is your manufacturing from the supplier production surveys. There's a couple buttons here at the top of the screen, at the top of the table that I want to showcase to you guys. The first one is the download EPD button. So this is where you'll actually pull out your EPD. It'll just be a draft version to start off with, but it's something you can view on your own screen. You can pass around to your team members or marketing or whatever. Make sure it all looks good. Once you're ready to submit it for your job, we have the upload EPD to program operator. So it not only uploads to the program operator if you're choosing that you went with for verification, it also uploads to the EC3 Building Transparency website. So both publicly available websites, you'll have links directly to both of those that you can view all of the published EPDs. You can send your customers to there to look for them, but it's a way to house all of those in a directory for you. And then lastly, I'd like to showcase the benchmarking feature of the tool. This is an important one for our producers that are in Theta EPD to showcase their mixes against the industry average mixes that are done by NRMCA. So what you'll do is you'll grab a mix here from your big list that you have for all of your plants. You'd select the benchmark mix secondly and hit graph. And it just showcases how well you're doing against the industry average. So these are the industry average benchmarks that have been done by the National Ready Mix Concrete Association. They're actually being updated right now. So those should be updated, I think early next year with new numbers. So it'll be a little bit better, but it's something where you can optimize your mix. You can see how well you're doing against the industry average in your region, and use those to help you with your benchmarks for your GSA projects or anything like that. So that is our tool. I'm just going to go back to our PowerPoint here. Here we are. Oops. And I gotta go all the way through here. All right, so I just showcased the tool. This information here is all of the producer LCA and EPD workflow. So all of that information that I went through that you need to enter into the tool, the data collection. So your suppliers, your production information, your suppliers, and then your supplier distances all need to be entered. It goes through the verification step. And then finally, you're able to publish your EPDs into EC3 and the program operator. They're all verified and you can hand them off to your customers. Here's some more information. So you got the mix data there on the left-hand side with your cements, aggregates, admixtures, anything that goes into your mix proportions. We got the transportation again, and then the manufacturing, of course, and then the requirements there on the left-hand side.
Yeah, and Hannah, I can run this
Sure.
one for everyone. Thank you so much for running that through. Hopefully, folks, the first go through, we'll be there step by step with you to kind of explain it and help you through the system. That's one of the great things about the program. When you sign up at thetaepd.com/signup/MCA. What ends up happening is Hannah runs you through your first couple. And the great thing is it remembers, right? So your aggregates, if you're using the same aggregates and the same suppliers, right, the system remembers it. So the second and third and fourth and fifth and 10th and 25th time that you run through your batch for an EPD, it gets easier and easier every single time you go through the system. So the agreement that we've worked out with Michigan Concrete Association is here on the left-hand side. So the software access when to self-input data is $2,750 per plant per year. Again, that means every plant you can run as many environmental product declarations, as many batch plant level or batch level EPDs as you want per year at $2,750 per plant. Obviously, $1,000 per plant per year for the EPD verification cost, which equals the $3,750 per plant per year. If you feel like you need that assistance and you need our team to input the data for you when you're doing it, there's also a way to do that. That's the middle column, $3,850 per plant per year, $1,000 per plant per year, obviously works out to $4,850 per plant per year. The reason the member pricing for EPD verification cost is that's the pricing we've worked out with our program operators. Again, this is the way this works out, but the most people choose that first column for the simple reason that once they see how easy it is, they're like, why should I pay the extra $1,100 if it's just going to be an easy project to go through each time we have a batch. This is compared, so this is what the team at Michigan Concrete has worked out for you folks, where if you just came to us off the street as a Michigan Concrete Association member, the off the street pricing is about $4,850 per plant per year, which will actually be going up again next year. Again, the $1,000 per plant per year is because the program operators, that's steady because the program operators have approved the tool. So we have that as a steady, but obviously you can see it's about $2,100 more if you just came to us off the street and didn't go through the Michigan Concrete Association agreement that we've set up. So again, hit that website, thetaepd.com/signup/MCA, and you'll be able to jump in, give us your name, and we'll be in contact very shortly. Hannah, if you want to go to the next page. So that's really our presentation. I haven't seen any questions in the webinar. That's pretty rare. Normally we get a decent amount of questions just about how this is used and why it's used and stuff like that. We can run through kind of a couple different scenarios with people if they have any questions. But Hannah, anything else that I forgot?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
Heather, anything from you folks' point of view at MCA that you want us to cover on this?
Not right now. I just want to thank you guys for spending just a couple minutes and going through what the program is for our members that are on. This is coming down the pipeline fast. We just wanted to make sure that we had a resource that you could connect with to be able to get your ducks in a row. So when we were approached with this partnership, we thought this was a great way to go. And it seems pretty easy and self-explanatory, straightforward. So I encourage our members to reach out to you, or if they have any questions, reach out to me. I will be sending your information out, and I'll have it posted on our website as well here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and Heather, we'll get you a PDF of the slide deck.
Perfect. And
That
I'll
way you
add
can
that as
include it
well.
Yeah, that way people can look at all the links that we sent and things of that nature. Again, folks, this is coming to Michigan. If it hasn't already, I know there are lead projects up there that have been looking for EPDs already. But again, the GSA building is being built right there in Detroit. And they are looking for EPDs from your products today. And then even if you're not in that area, there are other GSA projects throughout the state that I know will be implementing this. And then the Department of Transportation with products that they'll be looking for, that the state level DOTs will be getting access to their funds here shortly as well from the Federal Highway Administration. So again, more than willing to answer questions offline. If you want to set up a call, we can figure that out as well. Or again, Hannah, if you go back one more slide just to show them the sign up. I should have put the link there on the sign up on that final page, but the thetaepd.com/signup/MCA. You can enter your information there and we can get in touch through that path as well. But again, thank you all for your time. And again, hopefully this is a tool. We know the MCA has gone out of their way to make sure you as their members have access to at a reduced cost to answer some of these questions for upcoming bids that we know are happening. So yeah, so again, email us there on the last slide, Hannah. We've got our email addresses, both mine and Hannah's. We made it pretty easily. So let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you everyone for attending the webinar. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email Hannah, Josh, or myself, and we will be working to get this up on our website here very soon. So again, thank you, Hannah and Josh, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, y'all.